told y'all. Bad Mike told you time and time again.
Yo, what's going on, people? Your boy, Mad Mike, coming to you guys with yet another video. This is part one of the series. Today, you guys are going to get something really interesting just to start the conversation because this definitely is a deep conversation and it's dang sure worthy of that. The the conversation at hand is obviously Bijan Robinson and Tyler Allgeier. If you guys did not see me, what's going on, Zay? If you guys did not see my tweet that I put out, kind of give you some numbers on those particular guys. I think this is something that we really need to have a conversation about because obviously the Falcons have not been in the position where fans have been proud. Let's just make that clear. Fans have not been proud of what's been going on for the past couple of years, close to what, since 18. So it's been a good 7 to 9 years or so not making it to the playoffs. So fans are without a doubt we pissed off. All right, we pissed off. We need to win, and we need to win now. All of this excuses and all these excuses, we're done. I don't want to hear nothing about this coach or that coach or and how guys are supposed to how guys are going to get it done. Fans ain't trying to hear that. All right. Most of the Atlanta Falcons fans are not trying to hear that, but I think this is extremely key to talk about. So I'm gonna give you guys some numbers. Alex Corbin, what's going on, pimping? How you doing today, sir? East Point, yes, sir. So we got some numbers here. All right, so let's just start. I want to start with the record because I think the record in itself gotta kind of get a feel about where I'm going to go with this. Okay, so the record for the Atlanta Falcons, 2021, 7-10. 2022, 7-10. 2023, 7-10. Then we have 2024, 7, 8, and 9. All right. 8 and 9. You look at this, and Tony Wright, what's going on? I don't think it's that's nothing eye popping in regards to this, but what stands out when you hear those numbers, the 7-10, 7-10, 7-10, 8-9? What stands out to you guys when you see those particular numbers? Because I think this is something that we could really focus on. And a lot of people are going to have different takes in regards to that. As a matter of fact, let me do this. I actually want to read the comments to a lot of people before I kind of get into that. Like I said, it's going to tie into tonight's show at 8 o'clock on 6MK. So check that out. Go ahead over to 6Man K Styles channel and hit that notify when it go live, so you guys will not miss that show. We're gonna have a few people there, but I want to read the comments from people. So when you look at this, I asked, what's missing? Okay, what's missing from this? All right, a lot of teams feels as though that's like when you look at the Atlanta Falcons team, there's something that stands out. There's something that stands out in regards to the numbers, the team in itself. There's something that stands out. All right, so we got Bijan Robinson, 2024. All right, look up some numbers. 2024, Bijan Robinson rushed for 1,400 yards, 86, 14 touchdowns. Tyler Allgeier, 644 yards. Okay, that's a big number. Okay? That's a big number. That's an impressive number. I don't think anybody can deny that. Over 2,100 yards rushing. Okay, 2,100 yards rushing. When you look at 2022, you look at those numbers, and with Tyler Allgeier, 1,700. You got Tyler Allgeier and Cordero Patterson that rushed for that year. Just the two of those guys. That's 1,700 yards rushing. 1,748 to be exact. So you look at these numbers from the Atlanta Falcons, over 2,100 yards, 1,700 yards plus just between those two guys, not to count the rushing yards for everybody else. Just from those two guys. That's over 1,700 yards back to back. All right. The Atlanta Falcons rushing offense, I don't think anybody can deny the offensive line is one of the best. They clearly are a top 5 offensive line in the NFL. You look at the numbers, all the numbers speak for itself. You look at the rushing yard, it speaks for itself. This Atlanta Falcons offense is absolutely dominant when it comes down to running the ball. All right. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to highlight this is because there's a couple of teams in the NFL right now. When you look at how they ran the ball, you look at Baltimore for years. These guys have always been a top 5 rushing team, right? Led the league. You talking about lead the league in rushing. This team didn't make it to the playoffs. This team did not make it to the Super Bowl. They lost again. So when you look at this Atlanta Falcons team and you say to yourself, with a rushing offense, not only under Arthur Smith, but under Raheem Morris, this offensive line, these running backs, this Falcons offensive line and running game have not declined in any way, shape, or form. They're still just as dominant than they've always been. And you look at the Baltimore Ravens, it's the exact same thing with the Atlanta Falcons. They're still a dominant run game. Different styles on how they run the ball, but it's still an effective running game. And why did I bring this up? All right, so this is why. An elite running back stable and running game with these teams, you see teams that have had, you got a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, you got a quarterback like Josh Allen, you got a quarterback even like Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes. And one can argue that the Chiefs' running game wasn't that effective this year. One can make that argument, and whether or not these guys whether or not they were that effective as far as their running game is concerned. I don't think anybody can say that the Chiefs' running game was effective. So look at the Chiefs. Somehow they were able to get to the playoffs, despite the fact that their running game wasn't an elite running game. It wasn't consistent. Somehow they was able to get there. And then you look at the Atlanta Falcons for the last 4 years, these guys have rushed for no less than 1,700 yards combined. Most teams don't even have 1,700 yards in a season. But this Atlanta Falcons team, under Raheem and under Arthur Smith, these guys stealed it. So the question actually was, what's missing? Why is it that the Atlanta Falcons still have one of the best running games in the league for the past 4 to 5 years, and these guys for the past 4 years, and these guys still coming up with the same records? They're not improving. They're not getting to the playoffs. It seems like the exact same numbers year after year after year, despite a lot of changes on the offensive side of the ball and the defense side of the ball. What's the difference? And we're gonna go to the comment section right here. Like I said, you gotta check me out on Twitter also, Man Mike Sports on Twitter. I posed this question: is what's different? Somebody said defense. Another person said defense and elite running backs are a final piece, not a building block. Falcon got it wrong again, and like I just need people to stop and think. I don't know. This is why I'm having this conversation. This is why we're gonna have this conversation again tonight. Let me read this again. Elite running backs are a final piece, not a building block. That comment in itself doesn't make a lot. It's contradictory because I don't know what you're talking about, because you look at the Buffalo, you look at not only Buffalo Bills, but you look at the obviously you look at the Buffalo Bills, you look at the Baltimore Ravens, 6-man case the outcomes in here. You got the Baltimore Ravens, you got the Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills, and another team in the Philadelphia Eagles. All these teams have not only good running back stable, but they got a good offensive line, and they got a quarterback that can make moves as far as him being an extension of that running game. So we look at the Atlanta Falcons and say, it's like, all right, when you say this comment, when you make this comment, Anthony White, that running backs, elite running backs are the final piece and not a building block. Like I said, that statement in itself is so contradictory. It just doesn't make any. It just doesn't make any sense. All right, but like I said, we're gonna get down to that. 6-man, what's going on?
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?
You got a comment on that. This comment from Anthony White. It says elite running backs are the final piece and not the building blocks. Falcons got it wrong again. What are you what do you got on
Oh,
that comment?
hold on. Say that one more time.
So I posed a question on Twitter: is what Bijan Robinson, Tyler Allgeier, what over 2,100 yards rushing this year? I posed a question: what's missing from this Atlanta Falcons team? Still no playoffs, even though for the last 4 years, the Atlanta Falcons, they've rushed for over 1,700 yards almost every single year, and yet something and yet something is missing, no playoffs. So I posed the question, what was missing? He said defense. Elite running backs are the final piece and not a building block. So what do you think of that?
I'll call cap on that because the thing about it is when we're talking about defenses and when we're talking about elite running backs. The thing about is what a lot of people don't realize is when it comes to the running back room offensively, that's usually what we call the first statement for offense.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing is with the Falcons. The Falcons have no. It's not even really a balance because I will honestly say, even just going just this past season, the Falcons had the balance. The
Mm-hmm.
quarterback turned the ball over too much. Turnovers. Well, like you said, when you have an offensive balance like they did, if you turn the ball over, it messes your team up.
Mm-hmm.
Because even when we're looking at Allgeier and Bijan Robinson, the biggest thing is turnovers in crucial times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Turnovers in general, offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, defense is a very important aspect of it. And trust me, I know because you got to have a defense that's going to be willing that's going to be able to stop anybody in crucial situations.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just defense; it's not turning the ball over.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I posed the question because everybody wants to say even defense is the most important. Well, that's not true at all. Also, the Falcons have been in positions all through the '90s, the '80s and '90s with Jerry Glanville, Deion Sanders, those guys. I mean, you throw some '70s and some '80s in there. The Falcons have been one of the top defenses in the NFL from the '80s all the way to the early 2000s. They've always had very good defenses. And that still wasn't good enough to get those guys championships. It still wasn't good enough to get those guys in the playoffs consistently. So this is why we're having this conversation. We're gonna have a part two of this conversation, which is going to be interesting in itself. But there's no one that let me ask you this. Because obviously you're a Georgia Tech fan, and I'm a Georgia fan. I'm a Georgia fan, all right? I support both teams, but if I'm forced to choose, I'm going to watch Georgia. But
Okay.
I'm also going to watch. But like I said, if I'm forced to choose, like I probably connect more to Georgia than I do Georgia Tech. And like I said, that's just me
Hey,
being honest.
hey,
Just
hey,
going to
there
be
ain't no
honest.
wrong with that. Ain't no wrong with that.
But I want to see both. I want to see both teams. I'm cheering for both teams. But when you look at Georgia Tech, you saw this year damn good offense. They could run the ball like crazy. They one of the better running teams in college football. They were dominant, even though he stays hurt. Good running game, good offensive line. They improved on the offensive line for Georgia Tech. Did a great job of that. And then you look at Georgia this year; they was the complete opposite. They couldn't run the ball consistently at all year long. And running the ball for Georgia is a staple for them. So the question is, Kev, being we both know both teams, it's a complete opposite for both teams. So like the question is this: what was missing with Georgia Tech and what was missing with Georgia, and why?
Well, Georgia Tech's issue, like I said, Georgia Tech's major issue with that team was the defense wasn't worth a damn. Georgia's biggest issue was they was trying to be more pass dominant than run dominant, which was a staple for them to winning two national championships was their run game. And you brought in a Mike Bobo,
Mm-hmm.
to try to turn Georgia into a pass dominant team, which is what their team is not built on. And like you said, as a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket fan as myself, and one of only 9 in the state of Georgia, like you said, we were a run dominant team who had capabilities in the pass game, but also our biggest issue was defense not stopping nobody and turning the ball over at the wrong time.
And it kind of coincides with what Southside was saying with UGA's offensive line. Their offensive line was built on mauling people and breaking people down. That's what it was. So it's like Georgia tried to be pretty with their offensive line and kind of change they just changed their identity, and you could see towards the end of the season they kind of went back to it because the offensive linemen didn't respond well to it. You brought those guys in for one reason, and then when you try to change it, these guys struggle mightily.
You don't change what's not broken.
This is who they are. They've always been a team. Yeah, they can throw the ball at times, but they've always used the offensive line to maul, and then in certain situations, use a quarterback to come in, do some things, mostly off of play action, and that's been the recipe for Georgia for over 20 years.
Right.
It
kind of, like you said, it kind of goes where the and this is interesting too, because this conversation right here is essentially was the interview process for Atlanta Falcon Nation for me to Mike, was this conversation in itself. Like I said, Georgia, and everybody knows that the state of Georgia, as far as not only just the colleges itself, but high school as well, the state of Georgia is a physical team. It's a run team defense. It's running the ball and playing defense.
That's it.
And the University of Georgia's biggest issue was they tried to go away from running the football to passing the football with Mike Bobo goofy ass. And
yeah, you know how I feel about that jackass.
Right.
But it's changing. Georgia still had a good defense, and this is why we're having this conversation, because there's a misconception with the team that you have to have one dominant aspect, two dominant aspects of the game. We've seen this year with the quite a few teams, to be honest, that had good defenses, and we're talking about good defenses that got after the quarterback. I mean, look at Denver. I think they had damn near 70 sacks this year, but they couldn't run the ball worth a crap. Dominant defense. These guys got after it. We saw for parts at least a good third, maybe half of the season, that the Philadelphia Eagles, their defense wasn't playing well. They started playing a lot better towards the second half of the season. And then you look at the Chiefs, their defense has been pretty consistent for the most part. So even the idea, if the Atlanta Falcons, they bring in good defensive players or create a good defense that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to equate to wins. Having two building blocks. This is a perfect example of this. The Philadelphia Eagles could have easily been out of the playoffs. They could have easily been not out of the playoffs, but they could have been knocked out of the playoffs. They could have easily been knocked out of the playoffs if they were playing a team that had a consistent running game. They didn't play anybody that had a consistent running game because Philadelphia, their whole style is predicated on time of possessions and getting turnovers. If they don't get turnovers, a lot of times they don't win because you look at Jalen Hurts and he did his job as a quarterback is to manage the game, but it wasn't a lot of games. The Falcons game is a perfect example of what I'm about to say. It was a game where they need him to win, and he threw interceptions. Let's keep this real. If Jalen Hurts if Patrick Mahomes doesn't have that game, one of the worst games of his playoff career, if he doesn't have one of the worst games, are we still talking about the Philadelphia Eagles? Because the Chiefs couldn't do anything. They couldn't stop the run. They stopped the run quite well, but they couldn't do anything. They couldn't get off the field consistently. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't pass the ball. They couldn't do anything. So we still getting that same Chiefs game and Jalen Hurts doing what he's doing? Are we still talking about the Philadelphia Eagles as a championship? Because, like I said, those guys they were not as dominant as a lot of people may think. Which goes back to what I was saying again. We talking about a team that played together. We're talking about a team that played together. They had a good offensive line. They stuck with their identity. They had a good running game, and they used not only Saquon Barkley, but they used Jalen Hurts in situations where he could get first downs. A lot of times, Jalen Hurts is not even running to get big yards. He's just running to continuously run that clock to get first down. That's what he's doing. So they're sticking to the identity of who they are. And this is what the Atlanta Falcons, and then again, why I wanted to bring up Baltimore is this happens every playoff with him. Baltimore gets in the playoff, they run the ball. They use a lot of play action. They get the ball in the hands of their tight ends for the most part all season long, and then they get to the playoffs, and then now they want to start throwing the ball to their wide receivers. Now they want to try to pretend like Lamar Jackson is the quarterback that me personally, I don't think he is, but they believe for whatever reason that he is. But they changed their philosophy, and that's why they get knocked out every time in the playoffs. Every year they get knocked out the exact same way. It's where they try to change who they are.
The problem that comes into like in the playoffs today, this is not just a Lamar Jackson issue. But what I've noticed, and like I said, and I've been saying this for the last actually since we started doing this. The problem that comes with these playoffs is that teams try to force their quarterbacks to be the savior instead of sticking with what got you there.
Mm-hmm.
And what the issue is this is where the biggest difference between how a team is managed, not just from the coaches, but also just as an organization in general.
Mm-hmm.
The Southside here said Jalen Hurts was fine in the Super Bowl. He did his job, but a lot of people are overrated the hell out of Jalen Hurts' Super Bowl performances. And like I said, I'm not even gonna say it was overrated. He did exactly what he was
He
supposed to
did
do.
exactly his job.
That's not overrated. That's not overrated at all. You don't want, like I said, the thing is Falcon, and I don't want to do this, but we go back to Super Bowl 51.
Hmm.
Like you said, once a team gets caught up in trying to make their quarterback the savior of the Super Bowl, is usually the team that struggles the most.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, and like looking at Kansas City, looking at Patrick Mahomes' game, look at Kansas City, they had no balance at all. This is why Mad Mike Sports, Utah Sports, the Holy Alliance, and AFN always say you got to have the balance. I don't give a damn about my quarterback being the savior of the game. What got us there?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of going back to a question where you asked earlier about the Falcons' run game being pretty good the last few years and they ain't getting nowhere. It goes back to what I said. The team doesn't have the balance. The
Mm-hmm.
team turns the ball over too much at those critical times. If you really look at Kirk Cousins' numbers, if you look at Kirk Cousins' numbers and how they play, if you take away the turnover, if you literally just take away the turnovers from Kirk Cousins, the offense it played exactly what you needed it to play. Jerome here said the running back position backbone football. Run game can keep the other
Mm-hmm.
team's potent offense off the
Mm-mm.
field, eating up
Nope.
clock for your team.
Absolutely not. This is why the idea of this is so wrong. I love you to deal wrong, but this is wrong. This is completely wrong. The backbone of football has always been the trenches. It's them big fat hog that's sitting up in the middle and controlling the line of scrimmage. That's the backbone. Where you've seen time and time again where the Atlanta Falcons can bring in running backs and these guys rush for 500 plus yards. How many times have we seen us bring in and make guys that are fourth rounders, fifth rounders, second rounders, third rounders? Like Caleb Huntley, I think he had like 400 or 500 yards like 400-yard rushing in the season. Running backs aren't the backbone of a team.
You don't mind if I you use
I get what
an
you I get
analogy.
what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but that's this is what go ahead with you because that's what I was thinking, Kev. Go ahead.
No, let me use an analogy. When you are at, like let's say, I want everybody to kind of pay attention to a lot of the old school wars, whether it be the Three Kingdoms War, whether it be the American Revolution. One of the greatest aspects of a war is being able to be holed up into a wall. Those big
Mm,
guys, the defense line, which is your wall to prevent from sieges,
mm-hmm.
is your greatest line of defense. The offensive line is the greatest line of defense on offense. Your defensive line is the greatest line of defense for your defense.
The Great Wall of China, the walls of
Mm,
Jericho. That right there tell you everything.
yeah. The thing about it is we're in a day of age right now where people like I said, not. This not going at Jerome, but the average football
Right.
fan doesn't really look at the offensive defensive lines as an integral part of football.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be honest, the football game, and like you said, you always say this, I say this, you say this. Your football games is won at the trenches. I don't give, but if you
Mm-hmm.
got all the skill players on the outside, your quarterback doesn't have time without an offensive line. Your wide receiver doesn't get the ball if the quarterback doesn't have a time, which is why
Mm-hmm.
your offensive line is important. Your defensive line gets to the quarterback. Your linebackers roam or blitz. He can't get a free pass if the defensive line ain't doing the damn thing. Your defensive line causes enough havoc to where your corners, your secondary has opportunities on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
You think about it like this. The trenches cannot take plays off.
Woo, Super Bowl, ding, 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 ding. We
Your
lost because
trenches,
of that. We lost because
exactly.
we took out one play. One play changed that whole dynamic of that of our Super Bowl. You get that block and you protect Matt Ryan, or we even talking about whether or not because I know we know that play. We had a guy streak. We had a couple of guys wide open on that play.
You had an Aldrich Robinson that beat his man 3 yards. He was 3 yards past his man. Like I said, I didn't literally sat here had to watch the Super Bowl at least 7 to 10 times just to catch
Mm-hmm.
where the momentum got shifted.
It's a reason why they. It's a reason why they bring in. Look at Floyd Mayweather, for example. If you look at him, he talk all that big cash money stuff, but he ain't talking that big cash money stuff no more. Why? He out here being a real good father, a grandfather. Yeah, because he ain't got them 4, 5, he ain't got 30, 350 pound dudes around him no more. Look at Emmitt Smith. He broke a fucking NFL record having the greatest offensive line ever assembled.
And Jerome here said, would y'all agree that the guard center trifecta is better than the left tackle, right tackle nowadays?
Mm,
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. Yes.
hmm Yeah,
The
I
quick
agree.
that like you said, the quickest way to a quarterback is through the middle of the offensive line. If the middle of the
Mm-hmm.
offensive line ain't worth shit, your quarterback gonna get killed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we know, the left tackle is one of the premier pay positions in the league. That's a long way to get to the quarterback if your tackles are good enough. But if the middle of your offensive line can't hold up even for 1 second, your quarterback gonna get killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like you said, Kirk Cousins' problem was the middle of your offensive line held up enough, but his goofy ass was doing stupid shit.
A lot of dumb stuff. So that's why we're having this conversation. I said this is you got Bijan Robinson on all year, and you look at their numbers, but the importance of a team together, being able to play together. If you look at the Kansas City Chiefs and why they were where they were, it's because these three things that we're talking about: offensive line, defensive line, and a lot of times they did enough running in the game to keep the game going, and they had a quarterback that can manage. This is considered one of his worst years, and this dude he literally took a game off so he wouldn't throw for 4,000 yards. every aspect of that team was damn near elite. Special teams, running game, or at least very good. Special teams, defensive line, they linebacking core, their secondary is very good, the Chiefs. And then you go to the offense side of the ball, these guys were okay with the running with the wide receivers. They were very good at the tight end position. They were okay at the running back, and they were very good. See, the aspect of quarterback position what Kill was talking about, and like I said, this is not a dig on Jalen Hurts, but his job is to just not mess it up. If you don't mess it up, you give your team an opportunity to win. Once we go right back again, we're going right back to what I was stating earlier. The Falcons having 4 straight because if you look at this Atlanta Falcon team, man, the last 4 years, I don't think anybody can deny that this is a top 5 offensive line. This is a top 5 running back core. And the numbers speak for itself. Not many teams can do what the Atlanta Falcons have done the last 4 years consistently.
Damn a top 5. This running back core is literally one of the top 3 running cores in the league.
Mm-hmm. And we missing those elements. We missing those elements that you guys are talking about. Yeah, the running game, and this is why I don't agree with the notion that a running back and a running game is all you need. I don't agree with the notion that if you build a defense that you're going to win. We've been there. Again, Jerome, y'all know. Y'all look, y'all was watching the game in the 80s. Y'all was watching the Falcons in the 80s, putting up good numbers, and they still couldn't do anything. I mean, the 77 Falcons got the greatest defense of all time, and nobody even considered them because of the damn offense they couldn't do jack shit.
Yeah, the defense that average giving up 9.7 points a game, but you got an offense that average scoring 6.7 points a game. Yeah, nigga, that shit ain't gonna work.
It's not gonna work. So that's why I say I don't agree with the notion if you just build a defense, everything will work out. I don't agree with that. Everything has to work well together, including the coaching decisions. Because what kids were talking about, even with the quarterback, everybody want to make the quarterback the hero. That's a coaching decision. If you just do what the hell you've done all year, as you kind of close things down before we kind of get to part 2 of this conversation tonight, but like if you just coach the proper way, do what you've done all year, just like the Philadelphia Eagles, and I commend them. They never changed who they were. They never changed their identity all year long. They did exactly. I'm gonna say this. They changed it one time. They tried to make Jalen Hurts a hero playing against the Atlanta Falcons. They didn't think the Atlanta Falcons team was that damn good. Jalen Hurts blew the game for him. He blew him. He could have came back. A lot of people put their finger at Saquon, but like I said, things like that drop pass, that happened for all players. Like that happened. But they still had another chance to come back with Jalen Hurts. He threw a pick. So all these elements, once they realize, all right, Jalen Hurts is not going to be that guy that's going to be that Patrick Mahomes and he's going to be the end all be all. No, he's not that. So they rolled the defense, they rolled that running game and controlled the clock. I mean, you look at Washington too. Washington did the same thing. When they realized they couldn't run the ball, they said, all right, Jalen, you're going to have to be our running back. And they almost made it to the Super Bowl with it. So every aspect of a team has to work together in order to win. No one positioning. Go ahead.
Think about it like this. Eli Manning is a 2-time Super Bowl champion, 1-time Super Bowl MVP. The thing about it is when y'all look at those, you look at him and say, well, he didn't really do much to be the hero. That's because they knew the formula. They knew the formula. Ride the defense, ride the run game. Just let the quarterback just be the guy. Just don't fuck it up. That's the Atlanta Falcons formula for 2025. We love Junebug. We know Junebug got potential and all that shit. But his mindset needs to be, don't fuck it up.
That's it. Patrick Mahomes had one of his worst, quote unquote, worst years as a quarterback, and he made it to the Super Bowl. That is insane. Just think about
that. And he got to the Super Bowl and he fucked it up.
And he fucked it up. That's one of the worst games I've seen him play in the playoffs.
Exactly.
I've seen some bad regular season, but damn, not in the playoffs.
Like you said, because we're in an age right now where the average football fan looks at the quarterback position and say, you live and die by the quarterback and the quarterback making plays. No, the fuck you don't. You live to win championships when your quarterback ain't fucking shit up.
That's it. You don't fuck up, you get a chance to win.
Look, the Philadelphia Eagles is built in a particular way that most football teams would love to have. They offensive line, the average on their offensive line is 6'5", 340 pounds. So they know our trenches is going. That's their formula. Our trenches is going to win us games.
That's it.
So that's why I said when we're looking at this upcoming NFL draft, because I know today was the official start of the NFL Combine. Like I said, this is why I say I would not be surprised if Falcons look to bolster up that offensive line.
You got a quarterback that you got to protect right now. And I half jokingly said it, but right now he's the savior of this team, because if you don't have somebody that you can build on and build upon, it's like, what are you doing? You're gonna go right back to what the Falcons were doing before, just drafting a bunch of best player availables, because you don't have one. And now the Falcons have, ironically, they have two guys that they can build upon right now. And that's one of them on the screen, and Bijan Robinson, and the other one is Michael Penix. And I, like I said before, if you want to be honest about things, this draft right here, if you just look at the draft in itself and how this Falcons team is structured, it is screaming offensive player. And I know that's not something that Falcons fans want to hear, but this is screaming offensive line. This is screaming a wide receiver or a tight end. It's screaming that. If you're listening, if you're willing to listen, this is what it's screaming. You have to do what's best for your team. And right now, what's best for the Atlanta Falcons team, when you got a guy like Junebug at quarterback, protect him at all costs. And that's what the Philadelphia Eagles did. They protect Jalen Hurts at all costs. So, with that being said, y'all might want to hit that, again, head over to 6MK Live and hit that notification to notify when we go live. We're going live at 8 o'clock, K-Styles, ain't that right?
Yeah. Like I said, we just switched the time. We're going to be going on at 7:30.
7:30? Okay, so y'all got about an hour.
So So pretty much what we're going to be speaking on is these goofy ass Georgia Bulldog Eagle fans with this Jalen Carter versus Bijan Robinson shit.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do a movie review on today's live too. We're going to be talking about Big Trouble in Little China, one of my favorite movies.
Uh-oh.
And we're going to talk a little politics too.
Whoa. Politics again, K-Styles?
Yeah, I mean, apparently folks like the politics side of things. I don't talk politics like that too often. But I saw some shorts, some TikToks and stuff that made this look very interesting to talk about. So that's all I got on that.
So again, 7:30, hit that subscribe button, man. 6MK Live, okay? 6MK Live. Head over there, hit that notify button so you can be notified when we go live. A lot of times, YouTube be tripping. So make sure when you hit that subscribe button, make sure to hit it twice. Hit it again because sometimes it's to the default. And default, when it's labeled to default, you don't get every single notification, whether it's a video or a live show. Make sure it's the button, the subscribe button is to all, so you don't miss anything that we're doing. Because I know a lot of people be complaining about, man, how the hell we miss it? YouTube didn't. Well, make sure that it's on all and not default. Okay. So with that being said, man, again, Bijan Robinson 1,400. We talking about well over 2,000 yards total. This dude is special. All right, he's absolutely special. But if we want to get what we want, us continuously building a running game, or the running backs and the offensive line, that's not enough. We got to build a team. We got to have a coaching staff that believes in what they're doing and has a plan. If you don't have a plan, man, you're going nowhere. So with that being said, this has been your boy, man, Mike, man. Stay tuned for us, 6MK Live, right? So if you're new to the channel, this has been your boy, man, Mike, 6-Man K-Styles. We up out of here, man. Deuces.
Fucking Raheem Morris ass.
Fuck him.
Fuck him. Fuck all of them.
Put your eyes back in your head.
Pry their eyes open and force them to see the truth. We will skin the sheep and sacrifice the weak. The unholy alliance has arrived.